Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest. It's kind of weird saying that, and you know why. But this is a special episode. This is our 10th year anniversary episode. MLM Nation got started back in, can't believe, 2015. That tells you how old I am. I feel like 2015 was only 1 or 2 years ago, but it's been 10 years ago. And I wanted to bring a special guest to do something different. And anyway, the special guest is Josie Tong. Hey, Josie, are you ready to make it happen?
Hey, Simon, always ready with MLM Nation for sure. Ready to go.
So this episode is special because I was thinking, how can we celebrate the 10th year anniversary show? And there's so many people I have to thank. I thank every one of you watching it on YouTube. Thank you everyone who is listening on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening to, Podbean. We've been rated, number one podcast for many, many years, over 15 million downloads. And there's a lot of inspiring stories of people, new leaders that came out of the show. But I thought about, to make this episode special, there's so many people I'm grateful for, right? For example, grateful for Fraser Brooks for sharing. I don't know if you know this, Josie, but he said that when I first interviewed him back in, I think, 2016, he was still building. But it was my podcast that inspired him to be a coach. And now he's a legend, right? Okay. Or Rob Sperry, who just gets started with coaching. There's so many people like Alan Blaine who said this podcast helped them get going. But there's so many leaders I'm grateful for, but there's one special person that I'm super grateful for, and that's Josie Tong. And because I remember when we launched the show, it was very difficult to launch anything. And Josie was instrumental. She had, and we'll talk a little bit about backgrounds later. But actually, let me just share a little bit about Josie. She is a multiple six figures, earned over seven figures, easily many, many seven figures in lifetime commissions. She is a global team. She's a Filipino who grew up in the Philippines, immigrated to Australia. Has two beautiful daughters, was a nurse, and then decided she wanted to be her own boss and got started in network marketing. And that was like 20, 30 years ago, whatever. And she's definitely one of the most loving people I know in terms of giving leaders. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But she's been on the show many, many times. I didn't really prepare for this interview, but so you can go back to MLM Nation, the podcast tab. She's been on there many times. But she was someone that did coaching with me. And then I saw her grow. And then when I used to do, a lot of you don't know, before I got into baseball with the kids, I do like 3-4 events in Australia. And Josie was always promoting the events. These were about no BS, no hype events. Also did workshops. And then when I launched MLM Nation podcast, Josie was instrumental. And she saw the value of it and promoting it to her, not just her team, but people outside the company and the other teams. So I think she was such a huge part of MLM Nation. I wanted her to be on here. And so definitely check out her previous episodes. I'll put the link in the show notes. But I wanted her to interview me, maybe asking, because some of you don't know my past, and maybe I'll interview Josie as well. But this is just a casual conversation. Josie's been super busy. She actually took some time off. I've been busy with my stuff. And since I haven't been to Australia in a while, basically ever since COVID. So we actually haven't met in person in a couple of years. So I just want to catch up with Josie and let you hear how successful people think. But I'll share one lesson in terms of seeing it in action. So it's a leadership lesson. If you feel like you can't find prospects. Well, here's a leadership lesson from Josie. And I'm not here to embarrass her, and she totally doesn't know this. Like I said, I'm making this up. Right before this, I was thinking, like, one of the first questions, Josie, you're going to ask me. I'm sorry for keep talking long, because you're supposed to ask me questions. And when Josie texted me this morning, like, she didn't ask ChatGPT questions. She didn't come up with her own questions. It's like, oh, good. I want you to ask me the tough questions. But if you're going to ask me how I am, I was like, I'm really, really tired because I just did a baseball session. I worked out. I did a baseball session with my boys, 2 of my boys. I still have another one to do at night, and then checked out on a renovation of a property. And now we're here. But I was excited to do this. But one of the things that really stood out before I really knew Josie well, back in 2013, I always saw her as a giver. And this is saying that in network marketing, you get paid for the person you were before. Right. So if you were like me, who's just a corporate America boy working corporate America, and afterwards just watched sports and didn't do personal development, wasn't a giver, then you would struggle in the war market. It's like the way I did. And I had to learn about online marketing and then branding and then giving value. Right. But if you were a person that give, then and was a leader in the community, then you would do really, really well in network marketing. And so when people say leaders are givers, Josie was the first person that was a really true giver. Now, I've seen other people give with the intention that I'm going to get back. I've seen her help out Crossline, go out of her way at conventions to help out her Crossline. I remember you helped out Kate Jinjo, Annette Rossi, where they were like kind of orphans, but you were like basically training them. I was like, Josie, you could actually be making more money, like if you just focus on your team. But she has such a huge heart. And I think one of the coolest stories that really touched me, even to this day, when I went to Australia, a couple of things. Number one, you took me to Hillsong Church. I never forgot that. And also, she knew that when I went to, and you Filipinos will love this, one of my favorite dishes, because I spent like 2 years in Philippines, is salmon head sinigang, this tamarind soup. And when Josie found out, and then when I went to Australia to do my event, I stayed at this hotel. She had one of her Filipino downlines cook and make me Filipino salmon head sinigang every single day delivered to my hotel. So thank you, Josie. But anyway, I can go on and on and on about Josie, but that's what it takes to be successful, right? And like just giving and having the heart to give without expectation in return. And that's what I really saw Josie. She was giving. And a lot of people she helped out, she never got back in return. But it's just whatever comes around goes around. I think that's the real success has to be enjoying gratitude, giving. I was playing the sermon with, I think the Children's Bible podcast. We're going to a baseball tournament on Sunday. Now it's my youngest one, Christian. Like, do you have more, are you more happy getting a gift or giving a gift? Right. I'm teaching him because the whole Bible story is about you get more joy when you're giving, and God wants us to give. And that's what Josie is about, like giving, constantly giving. Even here, giving her valuable time to be on this episode. So anyway, I'm going to shut up, Josie. I was tired, but like once I start talking about you and about our industry, I get passionate and I keep talking. But you're supposed to have questions for me, so.
All right. Thank you, Simon. A couple of days ago, I was reflecting on when you launched MLM Nation. So that was 10 years ago. And I get emotional because that was the time that we were transitioning. So we sold our home. I was moving with my 2 daughters, and you've been there for me. Like I was going through the toughest time of my life, but here's Simon, busy launching MLM Nation, and you were there for me. So I so appreciate it, but I still remember the day that you launched MLM Nation. So we moved into this rented house, and there was a huge group of us in Australia, New Zealand, and we were waiting with anticipation of MLM Nation podcast to launch. And I still remember we have a Facebook group of 12,000 people, and we're going, this is it, like it's launched. And we were so looking forward to each and every episode. And the people that you brought on, they have a lot of experience. So we learned so much from them, and we're so grateful for the insights and strategies that they learned, because I definitely used them. I definitely taught them, and I have grown as a result of your podcast, your training, and Simon, you have changed my life and so many other people's lives, because you too are a giver. And I've seen that when you came to Australia, and we love having you. The boot camps, the training that you did, definitely inspired and have grown a lot of people. And here we are now celebrating 10th year of MLM Nation, over 15 million episodes. And I did a bit of research, and I saw that you have the longest, most consistent MLM network marketing podcast, over 845 episodes. I mean, who would do that? Consistently create about, I've seen the list was two a month, 4 or even plus a month. That's a lot of work to do. And you've done it for 10 years. So I have prepared a few questions here for you, Simon. So, because you definitely have contributed to so many network marketers worldwide, over 100 countries, your podcast has reached. So, I wanted to ask you, I've always wanted to ask, is like, take us back to day one, because I remember exactly what I was doing on day one that you hit, broadcast to your podcast. So take us back to the launch date. How were you feeling? What were your expectations? And even take us back to months before the preparation, etc. Because I think, there are a lot of people who are listening to this podcast and probably wanting to know, like, how did it all come about? How did Simon get to be so consistent to reach 845, 15 million downloads?
Well, I'll be very honest, and I will say that what's the best way to put it? Like every time I see this type of podcast, except for this one, because this is not like a real interview. This is just us chit-chatting. Every time I see a podcast interview on my calendar, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate doing it. Right? Because after 845, but I learned early on from my mentor that successful people do things that unsuccessful people don't. If you do only things you like to do, then you're never going to be successful. So the truth is, I don't like to do these, but once because there's so many other things I'd rather do. But once I do them, once I get started, I love it. I have a great time. But every time I see one in the calendar or I weekly planning, I got 2 podcast interviews next week. Oh gosh, that sucks. But I just do it. And then once I start talking to a person, I enjoy every second of it. So it's just getting to the mindset of you got to do things you don't like to do. And it's going to get boring, and success is boring. And you just do it and do it and do it. But how it got started is I listened to personal development, and I was listening to John Lee Dumas on Entrepreneur on Fire. He was really, really big back in the day. I haven't listened to him recently, but this is 10 years ago. And I was like, well, if network marketing had something like this, it would be really cool. Because I was learning a lot of stuff from John Lee Dumas on Entrepreneur on Fire. But if you go to YouTube, there's so many people out there. And again, this is 10 years ago when not everyone, there's no Facebook Lives, there's no Facebook interviews. Podcasting was very hard. But anyone can upload a YouTube video. There's a lot of stuff that these people never made any money. They're not real leaders. They just talk. But if someone vetted the leaders and find out whether they're legit and then interview them on the show, it'd be really cool, really valuable, right? Because I think, Josie, we were both in the same position in our companies where we felt that we outgrew all the leadership, right? And the leaders that had made it, they were retired and no longer really know what's going on with social media. And we need to go outside of a company to learn. So I always wanted that, but didn't have that. And I felt if I could provide that type of value, it would be helpful. And also, since I decided to have a different purpose and be a full-time coach, it would be important. It would be valuable for me to kind of getting to know these leaders to learn what they're doing so I can teach the people that I'm coaching. Right. So it's to stay up to date. So that idea came, ironically, on a plane ride to Sydney to visit you at a workshop. I still remember the time was my friend Scott McGee, a former business partner. We're still friends now, Scott. We just talked 2 weeks ago. But on the plane ride there, we just say, what happens if we did a podcast? So that's how the idea came about. And once we did that, we had a little small team. And I think this is a big part. We decided to focus on it. So this was back in October. We did a workshop in Sydney. I was going to Sydney and then to New Zealand. And then I think it was late October, November of 2014. We decided to do it. I purchased a course, $1,000 course. I think it was 1,500 John Lee Dumas course, maybe 1,500. And that was the only course out there that taught you how to make a podcast. And I had my entire team go through that course. And so most people, they wanted like, hey, let's do it. Let's get launched right away. But there's a lot of work, right? And the key to making things last is like a plan, kind of like a system. Right? So if I just do one podcast, that'd be great. But if I had to do many, many podcasts, like how do I do it? Where are you going to find the time to do it? So we assigned our team. We had Magic Mike back then. I think this is before Isham came on. Magic Mike, a couple other people that, hey, Kara, like you're only allowed, and this was focused, you're only allowed to work on podcasting for the next 3-4 months until we launch. right? You're not allowed to work on anything else. That's the podcast. So that's what I focused on. All my personal development was on podcasting. I listened to different podcasts. And then we decided, we realized you have to start recording, not like on the launch date. We said launch date, we need like 3 months. We don't record on the launch date. You record like 3-4 months before the launch date to get things ready. So we had like 12, 14 episodes recorded in advance. And back then it was 3 episodes a week because people didn't have Facebook Lives. People wanted content. Now, no one has the time to listen to 3 episodes a week, right? But we launched with 3 episodes a week because John Lee Dumas was 7 episodes a week. So we did 3 episodes. And then eventually we did 1 episode, I think 2 episodes a week and then 1 episode a week. So that's how we started. And there was a whole story about how we got Danny Johnson, we got Ray Higdon, Big Al. That all happened, but I wasn't very good. And there was definitely fear of success. We brought back memories of when I was going for a ranking advancement. What happens if I do this and I become very famous and well-known in network marketing? What happens? And I'm like, oh my, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe just go back to this show and just be the Simon. I don't want to be that Simon that everyone knows about. So, but those are the typical fear of success you just go through. And I think during those times, it goes back to the vision of how you see yourself. I see myself as a leader. I see myself as successful. Then you got to do what successful people do. You do things outside your comfort zone. You do things when you're scared. You do things when you don't feel like doing it, and you just make it happen. So, but the actual launch of that first episode, I don't remember. Technically on iTunes, you can't choose a specific date. You tell them when to launch. So that's another thing that was added stress. So you tell them, I want to launch on March 30th, but you got to submit it 2 weeks in advance. So the worst they can do is you tell everyone's launching on March 30th, 2015, and it comes out April 1st, right? 2 days later, right? So you launch it 2 weeks in advance. And of course, Apple approved it right away. So it actually came out, I think 8-9 days before, maybe 7 days before March 30th, the episode was out, but I didn't promote it, but it started getting downloads already. And that helps with the rankings. But I remember on March 30th, all I did was send out an email to my email was tens of thousands. And I told them it was out there. So.
Well, I remember 214, I picked you up and Scott from the airport. And then we went to the city. We took a few selfies and a few videos. So it's so memorable. Then we went
wow. That was 2014?
Yeah. Then we went for breakfast at
we went to the garden. The garden place.
Flower Power. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, I remember that place. So, this again, Josie being the giver. She totally didn't need to do that. Pick us up. And I remember this jet lag. And I still remember it was a great breakfast. It was very beautiful place, a garden. It's kind of a garden. And you can buy stuff in the breakfast area.
Yeah, that was really good. Well, Simon, imagine this. When I listen to some of the episodes, it's like I have so many aha moments. I come out of it feeling so inspired, okay, I want to do it again, or I want to help my team rank advance, or it just really inspires me. So you have interviewed 845 episodes, right? So imagine the nuggets, the lessons, the strategies that the leaders have shared with you. So many. What if you could condense it?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say would be your top 5 strategies?
5, okay.
Would it be 5 or more? Up to you.
I actually said this one. I think I did a podcast one time about top lessons. So I better make sure I'm consistent, right, with what I said before. No, but immediately 2 things come to mind, right? Number 1 is all leaders, they invest in themselves, like yourself, right? You invest in coaching, you invest in mastermind, you attend events, you attend network marketing events, you attend non-network marketing events, but you're always constantly learning and you're reading and you're learning. That's number 1. And the other lesson, I think the biggest lesson, I wish I knew this earlier too. I kind of knew it, but I didn't know it, was the 3 biggest mistakes in network marketing. Number 1 is you quit. Number 2, right, we all know that you don't quit. But the second biggest mistake, another mistake, was going full time too early. But the mistake that hurts a lot of people is to get into management mode. Meaning, I recruited 4 people, and now, the number, what could be 4 or 5 or 2, it normally has to do with the company incentive. Company normally has a certain incentive. You hit 4 in 8 weeks or 5 in the first month, whatever, get you 5. and you're making sales. And then once you hit that, then you go, I'm in a training mode. I got to train and duplicate. Right? And so that is like a myth, right? The management mode is the kiss of death. You basically recruit your way to the top, where like duplication is a myth. Now, some of you may be shocked about this, but duplication, like I recruit two, and two becomes four, then four becomes eight, eight becomes 16. Now, you know, Josie, next thing you know, the whole world is in your downline, right? That doesn't work. It's more like you recruit two, they don't do anything. You recruit another two, they don't do anything. You recruit another four, they don't do anything. You recruit another two. Finally, out of 10 people, you have one person that does something, and then 8 quit, right? But what you do is where the duplication comes in is you duplicate leaders. So you bring in someone like Josie, she brings in 50 people, right? Like 30 people quit. But out of the 50, there's another person that comes on, could be like a Jasper Karina, right? And Jasper comes in, he brings in 100, and like 90 quit. But out of the 10 remaining, there's one person that brings another 50. That's really how network marketing works. But most people, the mistake they make is they recruit two, and then they spend all the time training, and they're out of production mode. And then next thing you know, the income always drops. And especially you can make 10,000, you get a nice bonus. You build a team of 20, and then instead of keep on recruiting, you're creating the training systems, and then the income just drops. And the funny thing is, I was at Rob Sperry's Leaders Mastermind in, I think it was the one in Spain, a great mastermind, by the way. And he was talking about like talking to leaders, like think back to, and I think this relates to you. You can relate to this, Josie, like when you were really growing fast, right? Like most leaders, they grow fast and then they build a system. Like they have 10-step system, step 1, step 2. They may have a manual. Like I made a manual, 14-page manual, or you break an online website system or a Facebook group, step 1, step 2. And then what happens? Nothing happens. But then you think about, when did you grow the most? When you grew the most when you have no system and all you just do is be on the phone 24 hours a day and just making calls and recruiting. And that's when your team grew the most. And once you went to systems mode, and everything just collapses, right? And I think that's network marketing. It's like you just recruit, and you find that person, and then that person will recruit more. There's no duplication. Like I must have wasted, my uplines have wasted time. That kind of sabotaged us, not their fault, by creating systems. I sabotaged my own team, trying to create systems. The best system is just working on the income producing activities, personally, like posting on social media, invites, the basics of network marketing. That's like a big thing that all top leaders know, working on that. And then I think another thing that top leaders do is they know that they're consistently giving value, like you, right? I think so. That'll be number 3. And then the other thing is they know that I forgot who said this, but this is a great saying, that every prospect is not the destination. Most people think the prospect's the destination. So if I get John Smith, I sign him up, he's going to bring in 2, you're going to bring 4, I'm going to make a lot of money, right? But chances are John Smith is not going to join. Every prospect is not the destination. They're the doorway to the destination. Right? So I talked to John. John's not going to join, but John's neighbor is not going to join. But maybe John's neighbor, because I'm friends with him, he invites me to a barbecue in the summer. And at the barbecue, I meet his friend from high school that, boom, is interested, and then becomes my superstar. It's like the 6 degrees of separation. You got to work those networks. But most people, they don't have the patience to that, and they don't really understand that concept. Right? And that's why when they don't reach out to the warm market, they're like, oh, he's not going to join. You're right. He's probably not going to join, but he needs to know what you're doing, because he knows the person that's going to join. And when the time comes, you can get a referral, or you meet them, you go to a holiday party or at somewhere, they're playing sports together. You meet that friend that's interested.
Yep. So for those of you listening to this episode, rewind that, because I've written down those golden nuggets and it's really going to be helpful. So I just want to shift to your retirement, Simon. So you built your network marketing business for 15 years. You've been retired 13 years already, and the residual income continues. And that's one of the huge benefits of building this business. And that's why I built it as well, to be able to spend more time with my kids. But really, you are the envy of a lot of parents. I know that because not many children would have a dad that has the right mindset, the discipline, the example for the children to be able to excel. You know, as I watch on social media what you do with your kids, their consistency, their discipline, it's like it's just so inspiring. So maybe you can talk us through, you know, what is it that made you to retire? What it's done for your kids? I mean, there's just so many questions that I want to ask about baseball and the boys and all of that. But maybe we can start by, you know, what made you retire? What is it like?
Mm.
'Cause yeah, I know it's worth it building the business and going through everything that you've gone through to build it to where it is now.
Well, thank you for the kind words about being a dad. Well, I also feel that, but it's not, the verdict is not done yet. I still got what, until they're 21, 22, then I can say I was a decent dad. So my youngest one still, with Ethan, no, maybe in like another 8 years. But I still got like 13, 12, 13 more years left with my youngest one. But I feel like I've aged like 20 years in the last 5 years because of the kids, because of the dealing with them. But I think it goes back to how we're all born. We're a product of our programming, our childhood, right? If your parents are a certain way, you either become like them, and they either motivate you or demotivate you in a certain way. My mom was definitely a really strong factor motivating me. I love her. She's hopefully she's not going to listen to this, but she knows, like, she was. So my dad was someone that I wasn't close to, and still today I love him. He loves me, but we're not close. But he was I grew up in the upper middle class. He was a doctor. So I went to public school. But I was always the richest kid in a public school. But what I want to do is play sports, right? It's baseball, basketball, go to Knicks game, Yankee games. My dad was always too busy. I think part of it was also the culture. Coming from Hong Kong, he didn't know the American culture of sports. But I grew up in a Caucasian neighborhood. I just wanted to be like all the other white kids. And of course, there's some racism too, not from my friends, but in general back then. But I wanted to fit in. But my parents just like, well, my dad was busy. He was always busy at a hospital, private practice. So I grew up with money. Like, I never had to worry about it. So that alone is not the strongest motivator. That's why I'm just sure purpose is greater than money, because your purpose is what drives you. If money is the driver, it would never last, because there's going to be challenges where this is not worth it, right? But it's like you, Josie. I was talking about you being a giver. It's not for the money. You're not a giver because of the money. You give and help others because you love doing it. It makes you feel good. That's your purpose. That's God's purpose for you, right? That's how God made you. I think that has a big part of it, like spending time with your kids. And I feel like kids is your values. Like, you can make millions of dollars, but if your kids don't turn out well, then you're not that successful. Now, I'm not saying put judgment on other people, but those are my values. So raising the kids are really important to have them. It's not about making money, but having the right mindset. Right? And I think that's the frustrating part. Like, you always have to teach them, because we live in a negative world. So they get negative self-talk. I'm like, that's like self-sabotage. I was telling my kid, like, the other day, Ethan, like, he's doing negative talk. Like, when you do have negative self-talk, that never helps you. Now, of course, he doesn't believe me, because then again, when I was his age, like 13, I didn't believe it either. Right. But like, basically, if you want to go play baseball, you have negative self-talk. It doesn't make you better. You might as well take a knife and just slice your forearm and make it bleed and try to play well. You're not going to play well. You're going to play worse. But you have a negative self-talk and like bad body language, you're just going to get worse and worse and worse. Right. It's just like you want to make a sales call and you're negative and you think, oh, economy's bad. People have no money. Products are too expensive. You're never going to recruit anyone. And it doesn't matter where you go, people will find the money. Like, we've been to the poorest places in the Philippines where they can't afford like a $5 lunch, but they'll find $200 to join, right? Because they see the value. But if you're stuck on negative, then you're never going to get it. So how I retired was that when I joined network marketing, no one recruited me. No one actually recruited me. So I just realized I needed to change my life. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I want to be my own boss. And I researched and I just found a random person. But my goal at that time wasn't to do network marketing forever. It was just like, hey, do it for 5 years and then do real estate, do something else. And I just fell in love with the industry and did it for like 10 years. And then got to 10 years, I felt that God had a different purpose for me. I felt like I was talented, as a trainer, speaker. and I could make a bigger impact outside my company. And my whole point of doing network marketing was not to be like a lifetime networker. That's not what I wanted to do. There's nothing wrong with that, but that just wasn't my purpose. So around 2012, I dabbled in coaching, and that's how we met, through coaching. You found me. And then in 2013, it's like, this is really something I enjoy, and decided to go full time. And to this day, I still get a 6-figure residual from the company I built, which is really cool. And makes it totally worth it. And I did get very lucky, but it's worth it.
Well, Simon, you continue to make an impact to many people's lives, that is for sure, because of your coaching. But what I love about your training is consistency, because you're uber consistent, probably the most consistent person that I know. And that's why you are where you are, and you've achieved the success that you have. So you wrote a book, Consistency Pill, that is an Amazon bestseller. So it's a book that I believe that every network marketer should read, because I know that this is how we fail. We fail to be consistent in recruiting. We fail to be consistent with the basics. So Simon, for those people, because I really want to encourage people who are in network marketing, buy it. I know in here, like in Australia, our previous general manager bought a bunch of them and gave it to people. It's like, wow, we should really give this to each and everyone. So maybe you can give us an insight. How can we be more consistent? People who are not consistent, like how can they push themselves to be consistent to achieve the success that they want?
I think first you have to understand that consistency is a skill. It's something you develop and not something you're born with. So that's a big thing. So you're the most inconsistent person in the world. That doesn't mean you're going to be like that forever. It's a skill. Just like you can learn to speak a different language, you can learn to be consistent. And consistency starts with how you see yourself. Are you selling the vision? We talk about selling vision. It's about selling the vision of who you are. Right? Why do people join you? It's because of who you are. So you're not, I think, the network marketers, you get stuck in, this is who I am, this is who I was, this is who I am. No, you got to sell who you're going to be. And you got to be before you become. You got to start acting like that leader before you become a big leader, right? I knew you, Josie. You were acting like a big leader before you even became a big leader. And it's that confidence. And you borrow that confidence from your previous past. You can come up with any type of nonsense excuses, but as long as you act confidently and you really believe it, that's all that matters. So you see yourself as a leader. And so it goes back to, my mentor asked me, like, are you successful? Do you want to be successful? So yes, well, you got to start acting like successful. So what do you mean acting successful? Do I show I don't have fancy cars to show that? No, that's not what I mean. So you got to start doing the things that successful people do and acting like them, right? Acting like them. What do you mean by acting like them? Well, doing like the quote I shared, successful people do things that unsuccessful people don't do. So you don't like to do it, you still do it. But just by doing that, you're becoming successful, because 90% of the population won't do it. The fact that you're doing it, you're going to be successful. So another part is, well, being consistent. No one likes to do things, right? But you do it anyway, because I want to be known as a successful person. I show up. Why do I show up? Because I want to be known as successful. Right? Why do I do my live videos every morning? Why do I do that? Because I want to be known as successful. I want to be known as consistent. So it's how do you see yourself? You got to see yourself as the best. If you want to be the best, you show up and be the best. And everyone is consistent. So that's the most important thing. And then you got to create a routine, right? And I talk about this in my book, The 7 Components. I'm not going to go to each one of them, but you have a routine is very, very important. You got to create and schedule the time. If you don't create and schedule the time, it's not going to happen. I mean, I remember, Josie, you're one of the busiest people ever. You have 2 daughters. They're teenagers. You're so busy, but you make it happen because you create and schedule the time. And you're not making excuses. Because, again, successful people don't make excuses. They make it happen. So that is the consistency in a nutshell. But it all starts with how you see yourself, and you have to create a routine. You have to have accountability, and a lot of 7 different things in place. But those are the main ones.
Wow, Simon, what a life you have. We could sit here all day, and I could ask you a lot of questions that could help people grow. But this is what I know. What you have created with your podcast, what you have created on your website. I went through it a couple of days ago. I'm going, my gosh, I need to ask my team to go through this. There's so many free content. You have so much free content. And if people really want to be successful in this business, you got to take responsibility to educate yourself. So go to mlmnation.net. There's so many free training there produced by Simon. So we're grateful to your contribution to the industry, Simon. I'm glad that there is a Simon Chan, and you
Oh,
are
thank you so
famous,
much.
and people know you. It's like, huh, you're a friend of Simon? Yeah, here are some pictures that we have. So really, you are one of God's gift to me because, like I said earlier, you have helped me through one of my toughest times. So I'm so grateful, and I still remember when I took my kids to the US. We went to 38 states and we went to LA, and you picked us up and you took us to your home. I met your dad and Kelly and the two boys at the time and Obi. So what a really, I mean, a privilege.
Dad, you know what? That's right. I totally forgot my dad was there. My dad was there at that time, right? I don't remember that. I picked you up from, by the way, just to let you know how special Josie is, I have not many people have been to my house. Okay, even my downlines, only a handful, less than 10 people I've ever invited to my house. My wife just likes to keep it that way. But Josie definitely was there. Where did I pick you up there? From the airport? I totally
No,
forgot.
from a hotel. We were staying close by.
Where did you stay? In
Well,
Torrance?
I can't remember the name, but it's in a hotel.
It brings back so many memories. Wow. I want to add one thing about we're talking about the content on MLM Nation. I think, one thing that is very important. I was talking to my friends about this. I think this definitely affects network marketers and definitely you, because you've been in the profession for a long time. It's like I was talking about kids, right? Like back then when I saw Michael Jordan make a move in basketball, because there's no YouTube, there's no Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Like I just like a VHS tape, I'll record it on the evening news, and then I'll play it back over and over again and just go deep and try to copy this exact same thing he did. And so I'll practice it, then go watch it and practice, because that's all I had. I didn't have. If I was lucky to get the news on the ESPN, this is even before ESPN on the news, I'll get it and watch it. And I remember back when I was a kid, I had a Magic Johnson. It's like $25, and I saved up my money to buy this. And he taught me how to dribble, and I'll just play it over and over again, right? Our implement. But what happens to kids nowadays is because you have the amazing highlights. Like I showed to my kids, they watch it, they're like, okay, cool. And then they scroll, and then they scroll, and they don't even remember what they watched 5 minutes ago. And I think that's like network marketers, right? If you happen to go to MLM Nation to training, don't go through everything. Go through one thing and get really good at it before. Because otherwise, you consume all this content. It's like going to a buffet. You eat all this stuff, you get stuff, you don't even feel good, but you don't even remember what you ate, right? Just focus on one piece of content. So, and I talk about like just in terms of personal development, there's just in time versus some other time. There's a concept I got from Tim Ferriss. Like, sister, whatever if you're stuck in, for me back then, just go back, I was stuck in closing. I couldn't close people. I could bring people to presentations. I couldn't get them to sign up. I went out there and got every single book at that time. There wasn't that many books on Amazon, but bought every single book on sales, closing. And I just read them and implement them. Copy what the Zig Ziglar closes. Copy Tom Hopkins, how to close. But that's just in time, because that's exactly what I needed. Now, what about mindset? What about wealth mindset? What about attraction marketing? I didn't read those books because that was good, but some other time. Right? Energy management, time management, I didn't need that. I needed to close. I think that's a tip that be helpful for everyone you're listening to, is like, what are you weak at right now? And just focus on only that one thing. If you want to do TikTok, the only person development you ever want to do is just go on TikTok for the next 90 to 6 months. I'll get you will be really, really good at it. For us, I just share with us right now, I've been creating these massive guides online. But I think you see them because it's about focus. I realized MLM Nation, the website, we had so much. Did you know we had like over 8,000 blog posts? 8,000 with show notes over the years, right? Over 15. I deleted 7,000 of them and consolidated, merged. Because right now people can't find them. It's like merging the content, right? And I got just focusing on SEO. Focus. That's all we did for the last 3.5 months. SEO, making the content good, consolidating, being more, and just deleting everything, just cutting off what the scraps and just focus on something, right? I think, and that's all my personal development has been one thing. And I like to work on 12-week goals. And my 12-week goal deadline is March 28th, 3 days from now. Then afterwards is another 12-week goal that goes up to June 20th. And I only focus on one or two things. If you can win these 12-week goals, you're going to win a quarter. You're winning the 1 or 2 quarters, you can have an amazing year. But most people who they never taught at in school, they do a million different things.
So Simon, I just want to just say to the audience, because there's someone cleaning, want to say to the audience that your coaching has helped me develop. That's where I learned marketing. That's where I learned leadership. I learned a lot. I was working as a director of nursing before I joined the industry. So I was leading a team of 68 people, but I didn't know a lot about how to lead a team in network marketing. But honestly, your coaching was a gift to me, because I still remember the first time I met you in the Philippines. It's like, oh my gosh, I didn't even want to look at you because I thought you were a competitor. But I didn't know that you were going to be the one who's going to help me. So for those of you who are watching, I know that Simon has got coaching. I mean, you just heard what he said. What if you could get a lot more of those nuggets every single week? So Simon, huge congratulations for MLM Nation, your contribution to the industry, the lives that you have changed. There's probably a lot of people that have changed their lives because of your training or coaching and all of that you probably don't know about. So I want to say huge congratulations. Is there anything you want to say in closing?
Well, thank you so much. I think everyone follow Josie Tong. I'll put in the show notes page. I also put in the links to previous episodes with her. Follow on social media. She's a woman of incredible heart. And you never know, like I shared before, the prospect is not the destination. It's the doorway to the destination. And if there's one, and I'll put this in the show notes, there's a great speech by Steve Jobs, how like the dots connect. At the moment, you may not know, right? So the time I met Josie, she didn't know, you thought I was a competitor. We never knew we'd be where we are today. It's just like the people in your network right now, you don't know where the people are going to be great, the people are your future leaders, the future best friends. You never know. Only God knows. But you got to go out there, be a person of like a heart, be purpose driven, be a giver like Josie. Just give, and everything else be sorted out. So anyway, Josie, thank you so much for the kind word. Thank you for being part of this anniversary episode. And anything else you want to add before I wrap up?
Well, what an honor to be here for your anniversary episode. And I know it's a special episode. You could have chosen someone else, but here we are. So grateful to you, Simon. So for those of you who are in network marketing, make sure you plug into Simon, his coaching, his training, and download the guides that he's just created.
Hey, thank you so much, Josie. MLM Nation, there's no recap for this one, but just follow Josie. Be a giver. There's a lot of lessons. And think about, be the person that people want to join, and be a giver, be a heart-driven, purpose-driven leader. And we're in an awesome profession. Hey, both Josie and I were loud and proud to be part of network marketing. And so should you. Make sure you apply what you learned and go out there and have a positive impact on someone's life. God bless you all.